Alright, so we're going to do a ride-along video here where y'all just ride with me in the 853. What we're doing is we're cutting our skid axis. It's the end of the day for us, and what I've done is I've caught myself on the thinning, or the down rows, should I say. I cut my down rows with the rubber tires, y'all know, and so now we're going, we've been behind the rubber tire, we've got all the thinning done. And it's easier to cut across these beds because this stuff is bedded. For those of y'all who don't know what bedded means, they're planted on like corn rows. The beds they usually average about this tall, but they can be as tall as this tall out here. So it's really hard on a rubber tire cutting across them. Where the track machine, I can like pull myself up on top of 2 rows and get kind of stable. And use the boom to reach out and do my cutting that needs to be done. I mean, it's still not perfect. And then also, I have this high rotating head. You know, it rotates 340 degrees upside down, either, you know, left or right. And so what I do is I'm cutting this like so. Knock this out of the way here. We don't bunch hardwood. I find a hole over here on my left side, and then I throw it down and then twist and then drop it. You know, you can see where I've got my last pile. I drop it at the start of my green tops, rotate my head back up, and you see I didn't have to move the tracks anywhere. Now my next pile, I'll actually stack on top of that pile, because I'm not going to be far enough in front of it to start a new one to speak. So you have to do a little bit of dead tracking when you get done. You got to kind of just, you know, track backwards, which isn't the most exact efficient technique to use doing this, or running a track cutter. You don't want to just be tracking around anywhere without cutting. Anytime you're tracking, you want to be, you know, either tracking to your next tree, etc., etc. You don't want to just be tracking to just drag the machine around. See, I saw how I just knocked that dead snag down. You also want to make sure you knock all your dead stuff down. It helps if you put it in the beds, because the beds are running this way with the machine, and if you can knock it down into your bed, that helps your skidder driver out for the biggest thing. I said I was, I'm probably going to I'm not sure. We may have enough room to go on ahead and start a new pile. But anyway, also on top of that, knocking down that dead stuff like that, you see your hoses out here just dangling. If you leave that up, and it flips up just right, or you swing over it wrong or something like that, and then you catch those hoses on that dead snag, and that snag's still pretty solid like that one was that I knocked down, it'll actually rip your hydraulic hoses off. And each one of those hoses out there, like the cheapest one's probably that little smaller one out there, and that one's probably, right now with the cost of everything, that one's probably about $180, $200. Those big lines out there that feed your saw, those are like $350, $400. So you want to make sure and really protect those hoses. So we actually had enough room to start a new pile. Just drag it around like so. This will really speed me up in the morning with the rubber tire when I go to cut with it, because I won't have to fart with this access. Let's see, I dropped it. Pick it back up. Same thing with like little hardwoods and stuff like that. You really want to make sure you're paying attention to those as well. Like this one that I'm eliminating now. It's best if you cut them because they will flip back up and get you. Do the same thing to your hoses, it'll actually tear them off. This is just one of the advantages of having a track buncher on the job site. I try and use my rubber tire as much as possible because it's so much cheaper to run. But sometimes, especially when you're you know, doing something like this here or daylighting your roadsides, it's so much faster and more efficient to just use your track cutter. Each machine has its place and purpose. Guess I've gotten too much in my head. Let's see. Find us a hole. Run that down. You got to be careful, watch what you're doing, because you will hit those tracks. This is not something you want to be doing if you're just learning how to run a machine, because you will mess up. Because whenever you have that head at that weird angle like that, response of the booms and everything else is very different, very, very different. So this is going to be our first double pile, double bundle, whatever you'll call it. You want to stay 90 degrees to your down rows the way they're planted. It seems like I'm starting to get a little, I'm pulling myself to the right a little bit, it seems like. So I don't know if y'all just saw the way that head wanted to like jump in at me there. That's what I'm talking about there. It gets weird sometimes. Getting a pull to the right on my cutting, so we're going to deviate back this way a little bit. I'm also trying to keep a perfect straight line. Y'all can see behind me. I don't know if y'all can see the loader back here or not. I'm trying to keep a perfect straight line behind me as I'm cutting. It makes it look neater. I guess that's my OCD. I don't like crooked accesses as much as I can help them. Sometimes they just gotta be a little crooked. Bit of underbrush in here too, compared to what we've been cutting in. The underbrush y'all see out there, those are called Merkle. Well, some of them Merkle bushes, and most of them are Yopons. They're not native to the state of Louisiana, and they can be very aggravating to deal with. They like sandy soils, dry soils. It's odd that they're growing in here because this is not dry. This is very wet ground. It's only dry in here right now because we've been having 105, 110 degree days, or heat indexes. Start us a new bundle. And you always want to go back as far as you can. You always want to get it as close to your last pile as possible. That way you always have as much room as you need when you're making your access in front of you. The more you can keep that wood out of your way, the better you'll be, better off you'll be. The easier it is to cut it. Cutter also lets me cut the stumps a little bit lower because I can see in my head where the saw's actually going out there. It does a better job of getting the stumps nice and low. You want to make sure you keep your stumps nice and low so your skidder driver has a smooth ride, for one. For two, if you go to getting a bunch of high stumps, you start risking you could snag a tire on the skidder and blow it out, and that's like $5,500 that you don't want to just throw away. So even after I'm done, because whenever he starts skidding on it, those beds are the dirt's gonna pull down from around those stumps. So even while I'm cutting, or while he's skidding, as the dirt starts coming down from around the stumps, I'll kind of back up and I'll bob some of them off. And if I don't get them, then he'll take his skidder grapple and actually remove the stump from the ground. Just so we don't have any accidents of accidentally popping the tire. See, I saw I had to back up a little bit right there. It's just so thick in front of me right now with the trees. I didn't have a hole to throw my bundle in. Ooh, there was a dead one. Dead ones will whoop you. So I just had to back up a little bit and stack it in the last bundle that we had. which isn't a bad thing, because when you cut great big headfuls like this, he can stop at 2 miles and go on to the loader and, you know, have a full drag to go to the loader with. If I was cutting really big headfuls, four bundles he wouldn't be able to pick up. He could get it up sometimes, but then he can't get it to, like, he can't control the machine after that point. It's overloaded. To the end of where our access is going to be.
CSI ground saw, $8,500, about a year old.
That's going to be the end of our access. I'm going to go ahead and stack this bundle with my last bundle, just so Skinner don't have to make an unnecessary extra stop back there. Spin the head around. Now I'll track back down here and start cutting my down rows for the rest of the evening with this thing. I'll actually down row and thin with this thing at the same time. Until for about another hour, and then we'll knock off and try to do again tomorrow. Anyway, I thank y'all so much for watching today, guys. Hopefully y'all learned something doing that, riding, and found that interesting. That's how I cut my accesses with the track cutter and how I cut it efficiently. That's for when you're doing it dry, you know, you're not trying to build shovel roads or anything like that. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure y'all go like, subscribe, comment. Until the next video, we'll catch y'all next time. We're out of here.